Hello and welcome to Top of Mind, Florida, and we welcome two wonderful guests. We were this young once.
Yes, I can vaguely remember it.
Through the mist of time. Nicholas Ostheimer, thank you for being with us. Joseph Semprevivo, Nicholas, president of the College Democrats at Florida Atlantic University and president of the College Republicans at Florida Atlantic University. We appreciate you both being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Take it away, Brian.
All right, I'm going to ask you a couple of the toughest questions you're going to ever hear, okay?
I'm sure.
All right, you ready? All right. You each have to answer this. Samsung or Apple?
Samsung.
Apple.
Whoa, we've already got a major disagreement here. Republicans for Samsung, Democrats for Apple. Okay, TikTok or Instagram?
Otherwise known as TikTok.
Oh,
I said TikTok. Both Instagram? All right. Good. Okay, so one major disagreement, Apple versus Samsung. So what attracted you to, you both basically restarted the organizations at FAU. What got you thinking about it? You can start.
Oh, well, I've been into politics ever since I was born. I have a very political family. We always argue. But I only ever felt a need to get involved when I saw January 6th unfold on live television. And, I was born here. I'm going to live here. I'm going to die here. That's when it started to feel existential. I knew that I needed to play a role in my country's civics. And it's difficult to get involved as a young person. So I had always been looking for a way to make myself useful. And really, the first opportunity I had was in college. There are so many young, open-minded people who are desperate to find their place in the world and to make a difference. It's such an interesting and fascinating place to be a political organizer. And it's a really fascinating and exciting job to be president of the College Democrats at a campus like FAU.
How many are in your group?
I'd say about 200.
Okay.
well, for me, it was really because I grew up very political as well. From 5 years old, I was on Bill Posey campaign. I was waving signs at the library. I mean, I was doing things from 5 years old to this summer. And I came to FAU. It was my third school. I transferred a couple of times, but I came to FAU, and I remember my dad telling me about his College Republicans back in his day. I was like, there's no way they have a College Republicans chapter now. We're too politically, well, we always were, but we're very politically divided now. And I was like, there's no way my generation is going to have a College Republicans chapter. I checked, there was one, but it got disbanded over the summer. So I decided I'm going to restart it. I'm going to get the previous executive board that are still on campus, and we're going to restart it, and that's kind of where we're at now. To answer a question that you had asked Nick, we're at about 150 people to 200, depending on what metric you use, our group chats or our official club status. But that's why I did it. I wanted to create political involvement on campus, make a space where conservatives don't feel ostracized, because it's very easy for either one on either political spectrum, anywhere on it, to feel I don't belong. That's why I'm here, to say you do belong. What's worse than stupidity is ignorance. You must understand what's going on and why. Other than that, I will not follow you for any beliefs you have. And then trying to create a stable atmosphere to be politically expressive.
And yet you both came and sat down to get today. A lot of people won't do that if they're on other sides of the aisle.
It's true. We have it good at FAU.
We're a very docile university when it comes to being at each other's throats. We're not. I'm very proud to say.
And how do we spread that? I mean, the fact that the two of you were here together talking, you drove over here together, I think.
Yeah.
The only thing they screamed at was the traffic.
Exactly. The idea that you have the leader of two different parties today getting in a car together to drive some distance to participate in the Top of Mind, Florida. A lot of people would think that was just nuts. You're supposed to hate each other. You're supposed to stay away from each other. You're supposed to condemn each other. What's happening?
We have so much more in common than what divides us. As students, we have a shared interest in the quality of our education and the future of this country. And of course, when thinking about the future of this country, we diverge a lot, after all, Democrats and Republicans. But, we both realize that if we're divided and if we hate each other, we're just going to make it worse instead of better. So I think that's kind of where the room in the middle is. Even if we can't agree, then at least we can talk about our disagreements. And that's where campus comes in, People see that we disagree, they hear us out, we put forward the best argument for our respective sides, and then they can make up their minds.
You had mentioned just briefly, you all are officially part of the campus again.
Yes, we are still as a fall this past year.
As a follow-up to what your friend said about, and what Brian said, is you're able to come over together. You can agree to disagree. Pick up on that.
Well, I just wanted to say basically what Ostheimer was just saying, Nick. We have much more in common than we have differences. We want the best for our people, for our country, our world. It really just depends on how we get there. And what Ostheimer and I can do, I refer to his by his last name. It's much more memorable, I will say. But I will say one thing that we've consistently agreed upon is the fact we're trying to make the world a better place. We're trying to work there. We're trying to make sure that we can have human discourse, because before politics, we're people. We're entitled to our own opinions. That's what's wonderful about the U.S. of A. We can say what we want, do what we want, as long as we're not passing the tip of our nose, as John Adams would put it. We're really here just to make sure that we do the best overall. And it's sorry if it sounds repetitive, but I'm unapologetically American. I want to make sure that everything happens the best that we can do for our country and our world.
Sounds refreshing to me.
Yes, very refreshing. So what's your message to old guys like him?
Make room, move over.
Yeah.
I mean, political organizing in South Florida, especially as a young person, is really, really fascinating because I've had the opportunity to develop a good relationship with local political leadership, state political leadership in the party. And thankfully, they welcomed me. But I have colleagues in other states and on other campuses where the relationship between young and old, even on the same side, is really, really, really contentious. And even here in Florida, I think I have it pretty good. There are a lot of assumptions that older people make about
Like what?
younger politics. Well, they don't understand why we don't care. And by we, I mean younger people. Younger people feel left behind by the system. They're disaffected. They don't feel that their vote matters. Young people in Florida between 18 and 25 is the first demographic in Florida's history to be more registered independents or non-party affiliated than Democrat or Republican. And that's exactly what we see on campus.
How's the system leaving you behind? And then what's your perspective on it?
Well, young people don't vote because we're not represented in government. And young people are not represented in government because, unfortunately, we don't vote that much. We see very few young people in office. The only Gen Z congressperson in the House of Reps right now is Maxwell Frost out of Orlando. I think he's a great guy. Hopefully, we're going to elect a few more young people here in South Florida coming up in the midterms. There's a good chance. We'll see.
Joseph, you heard his take. What's yours?
I mean, well, I will state that we're a very politically divided generation. We don't feel as though we're in the large scheme of things, the politics. I will state from my personal opinion that it's not the party's fault. For example, I went to RPOF as a conference, the Republican Party of Florida, and there was a decent involvement of people who are my age. I would say about 25% of the conference was from my take. So while I do think there's a less involvement for my generation, I don't think it's because we're being left behind. I do think it's because people, I'll put it bluntly, we're in a generation of people pleasers. We're in a generation where we don't want to cause conflict. We're in a generation where if we could interact with people, it's through a screen. And through that, through the social medias, through our phones, we're less prepared for discussions like this. Even this being a more passive and dialogue, like a more enjoyable conversation.
Polite.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. There are very aggressive conversations out there, and through COVID, through screens, such like that, people who are my age don't know how to actually have it. So I would be willing to say they want to stay out of it, because when you don't understand something, what's the first thing you do? You avoid it. And that's kind of where we're at now. I will say there were a few people at the conference of my age from University of Florida, USF, FAU. I was myself. I think we have someone from FSU as well. So you have a UF at the time. There was involvement. It's just not as big as I would like it, honestly.
What are the issues that animate you? That fundamentally you and your fellow Democrats, you and your fellow college Republicans, the issues that are most important to you all, that you want those who are older to pay attention to, or at least until we can get younger people into the political ranks. We'll flip it around. We'll start with you, Joseph.
Referring to politicians.
No, I'm referring, what are the issues that fundamentally motivate, concern you all? And as college Republicans said, we want these issues addressed. What are they?
Well, from what I've been hearing in general, and from my personal perspective, it'd be taxes, it'd be firearms, it'd be, I mean, typically the old, like, I'm a Republican, so I believe in X, Y, and Z. Just our basic, we believe in basic liberties, and we believe those should never be infringed. So anything that legislation can do to hear our opinion on maximizing our free speech, maximizing our ability to use firearms. I do believe pro-life, pro-choice is a huge debate now, and typically the Republican movement is very far pro-life. Also religiously pro-life. I'm Catholic, so we like to hear more things upon, like more discussion upon those beliefs. Why is it going the way it is now, and actually engage the audience. I personally would really love to see more politicians coming out to campuses talking to the students. I recently had Byron Donalds on campus, and he spoke to the students. He extended his time by 30 minutes just to be able to hear the questioning. Not just to mention the gubernatorial candidate, but I'm saying U.S. congressmen, local congressmen, city council, like anyone that would really care about the community, Republican or Democrat. I believe they should come to the campus, be part of an event, have a meet and greet, Q&A session, a speech, kind of let the student body actually understand about them. Because I bet you guys understand this. My generation, we don't listen to podcasts. We don't listen to radio. We don't watch television as much. Movies even. It's impossible to catch a Gen Z to watching a movie without picking up their phone once. It's borderline impossible. So doing something engaging in person would probably be the best way to incorporate youth into the modern day political landscape. Because in all honesty, that's really where we're heading. We're heading to the current day 20-year-olds. We're heading to the current day 18-year-olds when they want to get into politics. If no one wants to get into politics, what's going to happen? That's really where I'm at.
Nicholas?
I've been talking about affordability since before it was cool. Now that Zohran Mamdani went up in New York City, it's the Democrats' new favorite word, and for good reason. I come from a middle-class family. I work a job. I'm going to graduate college, and I'll probably be making more than the median American does out of college. But I open my phone, I look at my checking account. I'm really, really not sure if I will ever own a home. And that's a problem that a lot of young people, especially on their way out of college, are grappling with. Life is so unaffordable. Inflation is making everything more expensive by the day. Gas prices jumps 30-40% with Trump's war in Iran. Housing is so incredibly expensive because we're struggling to build new housing. We have a supply crisis across the entire country. Even here in Florida, one thing that's making it difficult for people as a whole to afford their homes is property insurance. And a lot of young people haven't encountered those issues just yet, but that's what's at the core of their problems. It's affordability. They struggle to make ends meet. They struggle to find the time and the money to raise a family. That's why fewer people are having kids, and I think that's such a shame. So it really does boil down to affordability. One secondary issue, and I'm glad that Joseph brought this up, is representation. Like I said, young people don't feel represented in politics. Young people don't vote. So one of our top priorities in the club is getting elected officials and people seeking office on campus to the breezeway where they can talk to students face to face. People who are on their way from their dorms or their classes or the dining hall, they might see a candidate running for Congress or someone running for governor. That is such a novelty. Their eyes light up when they realize that they are being campaigned to. That has never happened for most of these people. So that kind of representation is also really important. I think young people are very, very concerned with being effectively represented in government.
What does your generation think about baby boomers?
Well, many of them are our parents, so we love them very much.
Good cover.
Second motion.
Yeah. That being said, I think especially progressive young Americans, I'm sure the Republicans feel differently. We look at a lot of what boomers did in government, and we think, man, you guys had it good. That was back when housing was cheap, when you could buy you and your family a home, making $20 an hour or a heck of a lot less, whatever the minimum wage was back then. And we don't have that now because of policy decisions that was made by your generation 40 years ago, 20 years ago, and right now, because you're still the majority at most levels of government. So we certainly don't feel represented.
Go ahead.
Frankly, I don't have an opinion on baby boomers or others over any other generation. I think politics 20, 30 years ago was a bit better because, I mean, honestly, I think today we're a bit more cutthroat and to each other. That's what I believe. Of course, I wasn't back there 20, 30 years ago, but that's my opinion on that.
You mentioned the New York City mayor. There's a big debate within the party itself. How progressive is too progressive or not progressive enough? Do we need more of a socialist bent to our politics or not? A fierce debate between Democrats. Are young people getting involved in the middle of those fierce debates within their own party?
Absolutely. And on the whole, young people are on the progressive end of this debate. Socialist is a fascinating word. I'm not a socialist because I don't believe in public ownership of the means of production. Frankly, I don't know why Mamdani calls himself a socialist because neither does he. I think it's a stupid label, and I really hope that no progressive Democrat in this state runs with that label because they would lose. That being said, I'm a big fan of Mamdani's platform. I'm a big fan of how he ran his campaign and the way that he's approaching young people and working class New Yorkers, incorporating them into his campaign, making sure that they feel represented. He just rolled out this fantastic new campaign where people can submit their municipal issues with things going wrong in local government. You know, a broken park bench, a basketball hoop that is hanging off one hinge, or a bus route that isn't showing up on time. And once those issues have been identified, the city basically creates a task force to solve them. And that's exactly what they've been doing. You know, it's this kind of participatory democracy that gets young people and working class Americans involved in government in a way that they've never really been invited to.
I mean, I will say participation by the majority of youth is needed nowadays. I obviously don't have very good views of Mamdani. Um, I think something so extreme would be a very poor idea, but we're not really at this point to poke fun at the party. So
There are fights within the Republican Party, too, where young people engage there. There are fights about how far is too far on immigration and deportation, how far is too far on a whole host of issues. Where are young Republicans engaging on that at FAU and beyond?
So from the communication I've had from fellow students, we run polls whenever we table on campus.
Brian loves polls, by the way. That's a running joke. We've been working together for so long. But no, seriously, go ahead.
So we have been running polls. We usually have a whiteboard or something like that, trying to get a rough idea like where other youth are at. And one large theme is we should stop all immigration, even legal immigration from other students, and that's from all parties that are willing to put down a tally, which I'm surprised by. I believe in there should be complete legal immigration, but all illegal immigration should be stopped and it should be escorted out of the country. But yeah, so that's just one thing, immigration. There's also been a lot of talk about certain nations not affecting our politics. I'm a firm believer of our foreign policy in relation to, and this is more national. I don't think we should fund other countries' wars. I don't think we should fund anything for other countries, and I think we should focus on America.
Are you talking about the war in Iran?
I'm saying everything, but I will say my view is largely isolationist or expansionist, which is we should be the extreme of one end. Isolationists keep it to ourselves completely. Adhere to Monroe Doctrine. Expansionists, if we affiliate with any country outside the U.S., I think we should do it for our benefit and not waste American life, human life, period. Doing something, pursuing a different agenda for a different place. We weren't founded to take care of Ukraine. We weren't founded to take care of Cuba and then give it back. We're here to expand our own country, and that's my opinion. That's my personal opinion. That's not the party or anything.
Sure.
So,
What do you think?
As far as foreign policy goes, well, I think America used to end wars, not start them. The war in Iran is stupid and pointless. It's not getting us anywhere. There's no clear way out of it. You know, we're spending $200 billion a month, and so far all we've done is replaced one Ayatollah Khomeini with another Ayatollah Khomeini. I have no idea if this is going to lead to regime change, and if it does, if it's going to be good regime change. What we've seen time and time again with American intervention is we topple one dictator to install one of our own. That's exactly what we saw in Venezuela. So many people here in South Florida were so excited to see that America is intervening to take out Nicolas Maduro. But the regime remains intact. His vice president is now governing with the approval of the Trump administration. But it's the exact same regime, exact same ideology. Now it has an American stamp of approval for what is still a communist regime. It's insane. That being said, there's a big difference between that kind of intervention and our involvement with NATO and with Ukraine. Ukraine is one of our friends and one of our allies. Russia is one of our biggest global adversaries. I think it would be a huge blow to the free world if Russia were to actually end this war, having taken any inch of Ukrainian territory. And what Trump is doing right now to try and end this war with a peace deal that would leave Ukraine with its territory lost and with no guarantee of security for its people, I think that's unacceptable appeasement of a fascist dictatorship in Russia. So I think it's incredibly important that we stand by our allies in NATO and stand behind Ukraine.
One of the problems we have in this country right now is an inability to compromise. If you look at the founders, we wouldn't have become they disagreed vehemently on a whole host of fundamental issues, which seems to be lost on most people. Ultimately, they had to compromise. That was the whole idea of a Congress. Otherwise, we would have just had a king. The whole idea of a Congress was they're going to debate, they're going to on issues, and compromise where necessary. We seem to be unable to compromise on issues. If I put you two in a room together on some really hardcore issues, could you walk out of that room with a compromise?
We could.
We could.
Absolutely.
Could. There would definitely be compromise.
Could your rank and file?
I'm sorry?
Could your rank and file in your clubs do so?
Maybe. I mean, that's the issue. It's a very different question when you're talking about institutions than when you're talking about individuals. Let's look at the Senate right now, right? We're having a hard time getting a budget passed to end this partial shutdown and get TSA agents paid. I'm a political science major, so I'm not going to give you my opinion. I'm going to give you my diagnosis. The reason that the Senate can't reach a compromise is because the way the Senate's set up is basically gerrymandering. Republican politicians run to the extreme right. Democratic politicians run to the extreme left because that's what their voters reward them for. They reward them for their ideology and for their stances rather than an actual effective government. On top of that, we have the 3/5 margin that we need to end to get through the filibuster to pass any legislation in the Senate. And that makes compromise a whole lot more difficult because that means you need 10, 11 Republicans to agree with the Democrats on a Democratic proposal or vice versa. And that's very, very unlikely to happen under these circumstances.
I'm going to leave you with them for a minute.
Okay.
And I'll be back.
Okay. Well, right in the middle of the interview, come back here. No, Brian's he's a good guy. Let me ask you. Some people say, will young people do any better? Can you?
I hope so. And I think it's very easy at this moment to have some hubris about what we're capable of and to imagine that we're going to do this a whole lot better than past generations have. But again, it comes down to the institutions. I have colleagues and chapters across the state and across the country, and frankly, I see a lot of wannabe career politicians. And that's really, really worrying to me. I hope we see more young people in office, but I don't want someone who is, running for Congress just a couple of years out of college with nothing else to their name. Maxwell Frost, I think, is a great example because he led the March for Our Lives protests in favor of gun reform after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shootings. And I think that gives him a very unique insight into what young people need across the country when it comes to ending the number one cause of death for people under 25.
Joseph, how do young Republicans make it better than perhaps the older ones have for our country? What are you all going to do different or better in the next generation?
I think,
or current one, as to your point about getting elected now, not later, but to my point, what do you say?
well, I'd actually like to say that as a party, Republicans have moved more left to the spectrum than they were 30 years ago. So first of all, I'd like to say that
Depends on what part of the Republican Party you're talking about. Some would argue with you on that.
I would still stand with what I say.
Absolutely.
Because there's extremists on all sides.
Sure.
But if you look at what was being said in the 2000s, during what the Republican Party preaches nationally, even statewide, is what the Democrats were preaching in 2000s.
Let me ask you one final question in our remaining time. And by the way, I didn't want to say it because you weren't here. This guy, and it's important for all my, just basically when he has to take a break. This guy has been one tough cookie. He's been recovering from some surgery and has still been coming in here doing his work, so he doesn't run off set. And it's
But I'm back.
it's something us older guys deal with, and he's a former Marine. So this guy's one tough guy. Yeah, so I wanted to say he's one of my best friends, and he's a gritty guy. I was just asking him a final question. You have a little something for him. You could be in front of all the lawmakers in Tallahassee or Washington, and as young people, and to us too, what be the one thing you'd say, guys, I wish you'd asked me that. This is my plea. This is my question. What have we not asked? What are they not asking that you wish you could say to them or us? You can say it to us now. What would you say to them? We'll start with you, then you.
I think one of the best things is what have you noticed between your generation and the previous generation that has affected you negatively? I think that would be the most beneficial question to ask. And the reason what I'm trying to get at is phones. I think is the largest thing, but also just not being able to have discourse, noticing how there have been more restrictions upon our speech. And I'm a big Bill of Rights guy. I'm a massive Bill of Rights guy. I believe that those should not be restricted in any shape or form. So asking the youth, what has changed? What do you want changed back to be stronger or adjusted? Something like that. Like I believe DeSantis is making some laws in relation to social media in schools. I believe, for example, TikTok is not allowed on certain campuses anymore. Like FAU, it will not work on the Wi-Fi, for example, among other things. That helps keep you engaged with your peers, helps you get engaged in your classes, helps make sure you actually get connected versus a faux connection. I personally think that would be the best question. What were they doing previously that worked well, and what was not working anymore?
Nick, what are we missing? What would you ask to politicians, Tallahassee? Ask when you walk out of here, what are you going to scratch your head and say, I wish they'd asked me that?
Well, I would tell them something. I would tell them that they need to come speak face to face with their constituents and let them hold you accountable. Because if you've been doing a good job in government, then you'll be able to explain yourself and justify your decisions to them in a public forum. And our representatives have not been doing that, unfortunately, and on both sides. In Tallahassee, representatives are only up there for session for a few months a year, but when they come home, very rarely do they have town halls or show up to public events, especially, the actual activities in the forums where most places are. You show up to your meeting of the Palm Beach County Republicans or Palm Beach County Democrats. It's a lot of retirees for whom politics is a hobby, but you're really not speaking to the typical constituent who would be voting for you, and that's a really big issue.
What he's saying perfectly. You're paid for by our tax dollars. You're a public servant.
Come get in front of us.
Please speak to us.
We'll have to leave it there, but Joseph Semprevivo, College Republicans at FAU, and Nicholas Ostheimer, and we're going to leave the discussion there, but my friend has something that we're going to really close it out with.
You're on the top of my
I appreciate it.
Hey, keep us top of mind for next. This has been refreshing for me. What do you think?
I think it's been great. I think it's been great.
And to Brian's credit, he and I have been talking about this a while, and I met him. I was moderating him recently. And I said, "This is a sharp young man." He got in touch with his friend. We have to do more of this, and we're committed to doing it.
Yeah.
To hear what young people are saying. It's nothing more important than that. So.
Well, we're
They
still
look better in those hats than we do. Why do they look so good in those hats? Gentlemen, we really appreciate you being with us here on Top of Mind, Florida.
And thank you for having us. Thank you for hearing us.
Thank you. We appreciate it.